Yeah, we're live. Fantastic. Hello, friends on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. This is Becky Carls. I'm one of the curators of Learning Pioneers, and I'm here with Diksha Kharbanda, who's one of our Learning Pioneers members. We're just going to pop on for like 10 or 15 minutes because we wanted to start to introduce some of our incredible members in the Learning Pioneers community. So lots of people say that when they join Learning Pioneers, they're super inspired by the content. They can't believe how much stuff there is from lead thinkers. They love being engaged with the book studies. But really, the power of Learning Pioneers is the incredible members in it. So I wanted to start to introduce them so that you can meet them too. So hence, Diksha being with us today. So hello, Diksha. And would you like to introduce yourself, say who you are, and tell us a bit about what you're up to at the moment?
Hi everyone. I've been in education field since 5 years now. I have been looking at education from different perspectives. I've been a teacher, researcher, designer. So these are different lenses that I am learning to look at education within the classroom, outside the classroom, and how all that works in, which is helping me frame my vision, philosophy of education and how I will be moving forward with it. That's who I am and what I'm up to, looking for my next adventure and which other lens I'm going to pick up.
Mhm. I love it that we could spend the whole 15 minutes just talking about you and how awesome you are, because it's just that even just you introducing yourself demonstrates the power of perspective and the power of the way our different members show up. So you've been part of the coaching we've done with James Adu and his team at Innerscope, which was just awesome this time last year. And we were wrapping up around this time last year. Um, and he really helped build our understanding of how different team members, he does 5 voices coaching, just to explain to the audience, and how different team members bring different value to the team and different perspectives, even on a very simple level of introvert extrovert and what that can look like. And one thing I really value about you and the way you show up is the depth of your thinking and the way you will go back to previous thinking and bring that forward into our thinking and reimagine it. So bring up new questions and make links and say, hey, we haven't looked at this for a while. Is anybody thinking about this? I'm thinking about applying this in this way. And that's so powerful, because although we have a kind of linear, I'm going to call it a curriculum, we have lines of inquiry that are really well planned. They spiral and circle back, and learning circular, and it goes deeper and deeper. And you bring that quality to our community. So I really appreciate that. And also the inquiry, the perspective you have on an inquiry, and the way you're trying to just really think, how can we do this differently, and how can I be really purposeful with this? That kind of conscious competence and not just letting things slip by. So love that. Okay, next question. So you joined Learning Pioneers, is it about 18 months ago now?
Yeah, it's 1.5 year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you came in as a member, you signed up through subscription, and then it really wasn't long before you came an advocate, because I was just like, Diksha's amazing. We need her perspective. But when you first joined the community, first of all, what made you join? And secondly, when you joined, what were your first impressions joining Learning Pioneers?
I found this community through Twitter, through one of the posts that you had put about being brave enough and being courageous to make changes and figuring things out when I was quite lonely in this journey. And my first impression of Learning Pioneers was you, Becky, because the back and forth email exchange that we had about how LP could fit in my journey of where I was in, because I had just left classroom that time. And I could not afford the membership then, and we came up with a plan to like help me afford it. And thanks to you, now we have equity plan, community plan, which is really helpful for a lot of other educators who are not earning enough to join in. And yeah, when I joined the community, there was a lot happening, and it was a bit overwhelming because there were just so many wonderful ideas. And I wondered, like, what if this had come to me when I was actually in the classroom? I could have done so much more. But as it when I started looking at the community, looking at different spaces in the community, it started like widening my horizon almost immediately, like meeting new people, seeing what different ideas are there, what perspectives are there. That sort of just started sparking ideas and also helping me to think beyond what I've always learned, giving language to what I wish to know more or what I was trying to do in my setting. So sort of like LP started giving shapes to those things, and yeah, there's just so much, and we've called it a happy maze looking at things, and because there's just a lot happening in the community, and that's what a community should be, where there's so much happening, and then there's smaller communities and groups where you can hand pick what you want to do, what you want to engage with. So yeah.
Oh, I love that, Diksha, everything you've described. And, that really helps me as the kind of guide and kind of curator of what we're doing in Learning Pioneers, because obviously we're always looking to improve. We're always looking to be more inclusive. We're always looking to be more inspiring. We're always looking um, to be able to have clarity within the content so that people can lock on. We're always looking to create the conditions by which, this is most important, educators empower themselves. And I was just thinking this morning about empowerment and how you become empowered in your practice, because we very purposefully say, we don't say we empower educators, because we can't do that. You
Yeah.
empower yourself. It has to come from within. So we can create the conditions for which educators can empower themselves. And it's through many of those aspects you're describing, so having different ways that we can meet up, having different sections of the community that will resonate with people in different ways, having equity packages where people can join the community no matter kind of where they are in their careers, where they are in the world. So that aspect especially feels like a real privilege now. It's taken a while through conversations with different people to start to define what that could look like. But if there were educators listening to this who are interested in finding out more about that, just DM me through Twitter or LinkedIn, and we can start to have a discussion about how to make that work as well. And if you came to the webinar, already, because it was part of our webinar, what really matters in education. And actually, after this, I'll share in the chat the link for that, because if you weren't able to make our webinar, you can still get the recording through email. So we talked about what matters in education, what really matters, the really juicy stuff that makes a difference to children, and how to put that into action, because that's the missing piece. And that's where the empowerment's important. It's all very well having a vision, but how are we going to make that happen? And you were talking about feeling quite lonely. You can feel lonely and frustrated when you can see what's in front of you is not what you see to be impactful for children. And that's why teachers leave here in the UK for sure. That's why teachers leave the classroom, because their vision and their values aren't matching what they're seeing right in front of them, and they don't feel supported. So Learning Pioneers is a network where you can feel supported, you can feel nurtured, you can feel challenged, and you can get all those ideas so you can start to realign with your purpose. Cool. Okay, next question then. What do you love most about Learning Pioneers?
I think the whole design of it, like you said, that you could actually pick what you want to do. There's a lot of agency of the teacher, of the member to design their own learning journey, to engage with posts that they would want to, and that has really helped me. And that's why, like sometimes when something strikes me and it has been discussed few months back, I don't have any issues with like picking that up, because I know that it's not like learning is never linear, and you could always go back to post and sort of start a slow chat. So that sort of is helpful. It's helpful to have a space where you could easily raise uh, whatever challenges you're facing. And I have asked some very big questions in the community, which has helped me maybe not get the answer, but at least get closer to the answer, because there is just no the correct answer, but at least like you start moving forward and figuring out things. And the members in the community have been pretty responsive to the questions that I have asked, and that has really helped me shape my journey. And I really like the live event sessions that we have, because first that everyone in the community has a chance to ask their questions, and I have got a chance to ask some burning questions from amazing educators like Trevor McKenzie, Ron Berger, and Bill Lucas. Like, it was so interesting, like I could have my voice in those sessions. Otherwise it's mostly like you're listening to someone, but when your answers are getting answered, it just makes a lot more sense. And then how we slowly unpack those sessions by handpicked snippets from the videos makes you reflect back on what happened in the live session, and also like how can that be. how can we bring that focus in our practices in our own settings? And even if I've been outside classroom, I've been able to inculcate a lot of these learnings into whichever setting I have been in. And while I've joined LP, I've moved from like designing a community learning space to like designing textbooks, and I know that a lot has impacted and has gone into my all of these settings. So I feel like it just becomes a great mix of how things can come together along with the different members that are there who are equally inspiring and encouraging in different ways. And yeah, I cannot talk less about Mastermind, where we have hot seat where we can discuss our grapples so easily and comfortably, because discussing grapples is not easy. So yeah, it's an amazing space.
Thank you,
I
Diksha.
can go
There's so
on about it.
there's so much to unpack there, and we've just got Mevlut joined the chat, and he's asking what we're talking about. So, Mevlut, we're giving a bit of an insight into the Learning Pioneers community. I'll share the link afterwards, but it's learningpioneers.co if you want to check it out. And just to relate that as well to the bigger picture, we're often looking at the macro and the micro in Learning Pioneers. But whether you're in Learning Pioneers or not, take from this some of those key aspects that, just pulling out some of the key things you're talking about, Diksha. So the importance of learning in community, the importance of psychological safety within that learning community. So even questions to kind of take to your school and your settings. We've asked this in Learning Pioneers, and it was so powerful. What does community mean to you? And how do we want to show up in that community? Really importantly, how do you want to feel? How do we want, in fact, we discussed this as an advocacy group, didn't we, Diksha? How do we want people to feel when they come into Learning Pioneers? I'll share the poster of what we kept the visual of what we came up with. So it was, we had things like, we want people to feel supported, inspired, challenged, welcomed. We came up with kind of about 12 to 15, and then we shared it back into the community and said, how do you feel when you're in Learning Pioneers? And they added ideas to that as well. So we'll share that, and that creates a blueprint for how we're showing up in community, how we are bringing our best selves, and how we expect others to treat us as well. And then we've got a measure. How do we feel? Oh, thanks, Juan. Juan's just popped in the Learning Pioneers website. Juan designed that website. He's done a brilliant job. So you can check it out there. Yeah, so just picking up on a few things that you said as well, Diksha. I mean, there's so much there, but the lives, the way we plan the lives, and the way that you described, they're kind of drip fed over time. The way we're designing Learning Pioneers is really consciously competent. It's super purposeful and intentional, and it's based on research. So it's based on John Hattie's research into collective efficacy. So just a quick whistle-stop tour of that. John Hattie's done meta-research looking at what has the biggest impact in the classroom for progress across the world. One of the biggest impacts, this isn't going to be a surprise, I hope, is the adults in the classroom. We make the difference, how we show up and what we do. But there's a fourfold difference between the least impactful adults and the most impactful adults. I want to be a most impactful adult in my classroom. I want to make a difference to children's life chances. That's why people come into teaching. So how do we make sure we are in that kind of top effective teacher kind of strata? And the thing that makes the difference is collective efficacy. So collective efficacy is built up of drip-fed content over time, collaboration and conversation with colleagues in your context and in a variety of contexts. And that's where the power of Learning Pioneers comes together. We have that drip-fed reflective content, and we're discussing it with educators across the world. And I also love, Diksha, that you picked up on the chance to have the agency. We co-create the questions. So we've got a post that says hot off the brain thinking. You can see sometimes our lead thinkers shaping their thinking within a live. We've got clips of a kind of to and fro where it's like, oh, it's this, and what about that, and what about that? And before you know it, you've done into thinking, like Neil Mercer talks about, and you've created a new idea and concept in collaboration. So it's like having them in your living room, isn't it, Diksha? It's just like having lead thinkers around for tea. Okay, so final question then. We've been co-creating our curriculum for next year, and we're looking forward to new masterclasses, our speakers, our lines of inquiry. What are you most looking forward to about next academic year?
Oh, I cannot handpick one of them because I think all of them are so well planned and thought of, and these also came out of the conversations we have been having in different spaces in the community, starting from belonging to documenting learning to moving on to how education would look like, and also knowing that it's always cannot be so well planned. So our last inquiry is still to be thought of, which is again being decided by everyone in the community. So it's interesting, and I feel like when you see belonging and inclusion and you think about making learning visible and all that we have done in the past, and then you see that, yeah, we'll be discussing and thinking and imagining how education would look like in future with so many things happening around the world and with so much of technology outbursts happening. So I'm really excited how all these could just link into that, what education would look like. So I don't think I can pick one, but I'm really excited about all of these inquiries and how that will shape out and how we'll do our discussions around it and meet amazing educators again.
Love it, Diksha. And we'll share some of those lines of inquiries. Yeah, you mentioned belonging and inclusion as our first one, because again, um, reflecting on back on what matters in education, belonging and inclusion matter. They really, really matter. If we want every single child to, I'm going to use the Silicon Valley grade 5 students phrase again, to reach their unlimited potential. That's what we want, isn't it? For children to be the very best versions of themselves and to feel loved, inspired, engaged, to feel like it's worth coming to school. If we want all of those things, they've got to feel like they belong. And the tricky thing with belonging and inclusion is that we can be kind of on automatic, not really realizing that we're creating conditions that don't make some children feel like they belong, not on purpose, unconsciously. So it takes us, we talk about this a lot in Learning Pioneers, taking what we're unconsciously doing and examining it, making the unconscious conscious. How do we make the unconscious conscious? And then it's that cycle of conscious competence. How do we look at our practice through a forgiving, warm lens and say, do we still want to be doing that, or do we want to do it differently based on this new knowledge? So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to reframe that, to really empower our schools and educators to create belonging and inclusion, and for that to infiltrate into the Learning Pioneers community. So that wraps things up. That was all of our questions, and we've gone slightly over 17 minutes. But is there anything else you want to say or share, Diksha?
I think like I am like while I was reflecting on many of these questions, I'm starting feeling like LP has become my safe home. I think it's beyond staff room now because every time I'm looking feeling a little low or energetic, I know I'm there on LP. It's great space, and I think if there are more voices from different places in the country or in the world, it would be just amazing to see how different practices are evolving and how people are thinking about education and moving beyond what we have been seeing in ages and ages in education. So yeah, really
Yeah.
looking forward to who joins us in the next year.
Yeah, and I'll wrap that up with a quote from Sir Ken Robinson's daughter, Kate Robinson. I heard her speak on a podcast probably a year or so ago and picked up on her saying the only real change comes from the ground up. And we do that in community together in a nurturing space where that doesn't feel threatening, it feels exciting. And that kind of summarizes what we're doing in the Learning Pioneers. Thank you so much, Diksha. I've absolutely loved this chat. Thank you for being brave and coming on and being streamed to social media. And I'm sure everyone who's been watching or will watch back has really enjoyed hearing from you and meeting you. So thank you
Yes.
so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Bye.